Hey, this is Dave Spitz at Cal Strength. Today we're going to talk about the bench press. And you might be saying to yourself, why is an established Olympic weightlifting coach giving me advice on the bench? But I'll tell you, Cal Strength, we're much more than just Olympic weightlifting. We're sports performance first and foremost. And so from our youth athletes to our NFL scouting combine athletes, we use the bench, and it's a very valuable tool. Like I've always said, there's no bad exercises. There's just bad application of exercise, and there's bad movement within exercise. And so if we can take that same approach as we do with the Olympic lifts and apply it to the bench, we're going to talk about positions, tempo, tension, timing, all of those things that are going to make you a more effective bench presser. Let's take a deep dive into this, but as always, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have any questions or you want to talk about things, pop it in the comments section. We'll get to it. All right, here we go. All right, the first thing we want to talk about is movement preparation. So what types of exercises, what types of things do you do in anticipation of a bench press workout to warm up your body and to keep you healthy? So band pull-aparts, these are a staple of movement preparation for the bench. You know, assigning somewhere around 100 total reps ought to do the trick, but pulling the band so that it hits the pec line. Second, take that band and then wrap it so you can do some banded scap push-ups, so feeling the retraction of the scapula and being able to hold and brace properly through the core as you do these scap push-ups. Next, we like the eccentric wide grip pull-up. So go ahead and assign a grip width just outside shoulder width, do a normal wide grip pull-up, give yourself a 1 second isometric at the top, and then slowly lower over 5 seconds of eccentric. We also really like the crossover symmetry products, so using some sort of pull apart or just some sort of their methodologies for warming up, whether it's the external shoulder rotation, pull aparts, you name it. Crossover symmetry bands, if you can afford them, are awesome. And then just some cable face pulls just to warm up the upper back and get some blood flow through that upper back. All right, the next thing we want to talk about is your setup. So as we approach the bench press, as we lay down onto the bench, what types of things are we thinking about? All right, the first thing we want to do in our setup is to assign a grip width, and then we'll discuss hand placement. So as you lay down on the bench, the first thing we want to do is just unrack the barbell and bring the bar down to a contact point just at your pec line. And at that point, we want to make sure that your biceps and your forearm are forming a 90-degree angle. So we don't want the wrist inside the elbow, and we also don't want the wrist flared outside the elbow. We want the wrist stacked directly on top of the elbow. So after we've assigned this grip width, the next thing we want to discuss is where the bar sits in the palm. So we don't want the bar too deep in the palm so that we risk rolling off of the back of the wrist. And we also don't want the bar too high up on the fingertips. So it's got to be just at the top of the palm so that you can organize a grip that stacks the barbell on top of the wrist joint and then the wrist on top of the elbow so that you form one really consistent line. The next thing we talk about is how to assign tension. So as you lay onto the bench and you assign your grip width and you have your bar properly placed in your hand, learning to assign tension through the lats by rocking back, forth, and squeezing the scap together. So really important that we bring the scap all the way together so that you just have the shoulder blades pinched, and those are the only contact points outside of the top of the butt that you're going to feel on the bench press. So going down the body, we need to talk about foot placement. So we really want to make sure that your feet are tucked back quite a bit so that if you were to drop a plumb line from the hip joint, we'd like to ideally hit somewhere just at the back of the heel. So you'll feel quad tension develop as you tuck your feet back. and you want to feel at least the ball of the foot dug into the floor. You don't want to be on your toes necessarily. Ball of your foot so that you can drive through that foot eventually. Then as you lay down onto the bench press, your eyeballs should be in a position just underneath the barbell. So bar should be directly on top of the eyes. Quads, you should feel some tension. Feet tucked back with the ball of the foot firmly into the floor. So let's talk about now the lift off. So as the bar gets lifted from the rack, we want it to come from just in a position above the eyes to just in a position above the pec line. And as you start to initiate the bench, your lats are pinched, your body position is correct, you feel your feet firmly on the floor, you want to think about actively pulling the barbell down into your pec line. So this is what we call the eccentric portion. You don't want to let just gravity drop the bar onto the chest. You want to actively continue to engage the lats and pull the bar down into that pec line until you touch. Then we execute the concentric punch. And so what we want to do is think about in that eccentric, dropping our triceps onto our lats so that we feel the wrist stacked again just above the elbow and the triceps coming down onto the lats. Once you hit that optimum contact point of the pec line, we're pausing and then hitting that isometric for just 1 second, and then go ahead and turn it around into the concentric. So the concentric, or the push off the chest, is going to occur in a straight line. And you're going to initiate by driving your shoulder blades down into the bench and using the pec and the shoulders to initiate that movement. And then as you get to about that halfway point, think about executing by squeezing the barbell so the triceps turn on. And sometimes it helps me if I squeeze the barbell to push my head back into the bench to finish the lift. As you do this, it's really important that you're driving through the ground the entire time. So from the initiation of the concentric, powerlifters talk about hip drive. You really want to push through the ground with the feet as you're depressing your shoulder blades back into the bench to use the entire body to initiate the movement. The other thing we could talk about is breathing. A lot of athletes have trouble with where and when to take a breath. So what we like to do is, as you count down 3, 2, 1, lift off, we like the athlete to take a 50% diaphragmatic breath. So take a 50% breath into your belly and hold that breath through the setup into the eccentric, and then as we hit that pause iso into the concentric, we're letting the air go. We're exhaling as we drive with the entire body to complete the lift. So again, these are fundamentals that we think about in the bench press. The other thing we want to watch out for is the bar path. So as it leaves the pec line on the concentric portion, we don't want the bar to drift away from the body as it goes towards the belly button. That's a big problem. Or alternatively, if the athlete keeps pushing over their chin towards their face, that's a big problem. So making sure that the bar travels in a vertical trajectory, really critical. Also, what muscle groups are involved. So as the bar comes again from the iso into the concentric portion, notice what's happening with the elbows. If they're flaring out too far, sometimes that can really affect the shoulders. So making sure that we're dropping the triceps into the lats and using that hip drive to press our feet through the ground and hold our back steady and stable, and then we're using the chest, shoulders, and triceps to execute the movement. All right, I hope this video is helpful. I tease a lot of my powerlifting buddies like Mark Bell or Jesse Burdick, guys that have helped me and taught me a lot of what I know about the bench press. What I say is, those that can't do teach, and those that can't teach coach powerlifting. But that's really kind of a flawed perception, because there is a lot that goes into understanding the mechanics and the process of the bench, the pull, and the squat. we have a brand new push-pull program coming out that if you'd like to PR your bench, we go through a whole progression similar to what we do here with the NFL Scouting Combine, where we'll lead you to a 1 RM testable max in the bench, and we'll also do a 225 rep max so we can play with your endurance, because like we say, you want to bench 225 as many times as you can. The best way to do that is to make it feel like a broomstick. So we get really strong, train the energy system, test you on 225. It's a really fun program, and then we'll incorporate the pull as well, which we'll talk about in a future video. So thanks for watching. Look forward to helping you with all these games.
Okay, you're good.
Oh shit, the box is in my way.